Hey everybody, it's SaChi the Wind Sage, and welcome back to Let's Play Kindred Spirits on the Roof. In the last episode, well, not a lot of major stuff happened, but we ultimately just kind of, in this terms of the story, got stuck. That's the best way to describe it, what happened. We learned that SaChi and Megumi are actually unable to become one because, well, they're ghosts. And, you know, besides that, we also still have Yuna, who still trying to figure her feelings for Hina out. She doesn't really know if she loves Hina or not. Like, well, she cares for Hina and does love her, at least sisterly is what she's saying, but she doesn't know if she loves her in that way and if things will be different or anything like that, which, you know what, is actually completely reasonable. So, yeah. And, you know, we're still kind of trying to sort that out. But besides that, everything else is going extremely well. We had a little thing with Yoka and Aki because of the little, because of the kiss they had at the confession concert. But that resolved itself, and probably what we can only imagine is eventually going to be a cherry event later on down the road. But yeah. And before we go on, I just want to say I'm actually, like, looking at all the progress. We're really close. We have this and one more month left. And who knows, maybe that month is going to act like April did in the beginning and only, like, only show, like, maybe some extra events. This could potentially be the final month. I highly doubt it, but yeah, we're really getting close to the end. And I realistically see us finishing this probably before part 60. But, you know, if I spend too much time just kind of like, if I spend a lot of time just talking your ears off, then we'll never get this done. So let's just go on. Bonds 3. Despite, yeah, the thing with Yuna, like, despite, like, love is not an easy thing, and you've seen that time and time again with doing these relationships. Like, no matter how much you think you understand love, you probably don't. Love is not something I don't think that can be easily understood. It's just something you feel. So, yeah, it's like, so that's very interesting. It's like, yeah, it's got to make the thing with her and Hina actually pretty awkward. Like, okay, what am I trying to say? It's like, you know, kind of good on Hina for, like, not pressing her on it, and, like, considering how long it took Hina to probably reach her own feelings and come up with her own conclusion, she probably understands that this takes time, so it's good that, it's kind of good that at least Hina's understanding. So, yeah. Oh, Sona's actually, like, approaching us. I think this is the first time, like, this is one of the one of the kind of rare times where someone's actually approaching Yuna. Because you gotta admit, like, Yuna's generally, like, very, like, I think proactive is the word, and generally approaches all of these people. This is a rare occasion when someone's approaching her. Well, I mean, the only other time I can think of someone really approaching her is the Kindred Spirits, actually. So, yeah. Oh wait, that was Sona's class she was in, wasn't it? Well, that's what it seems like. She's probably just concerned about you, Yuna. Kitty, that was not the time. You guys could you guys could be adorable at some other point, but this seems to be kind of serious. Oh, is this gonna be like a thing where like I don't know how this actual part of the story is gonna go, but it's almost like, is it is like you know, we've been helping all of these girls with their own couples so far. Like, are they actually almost gonna come back and help Yuna in a way? Like yeah, they have like no idea that Yuna, well, like a lot of the things of how they got to be a couple were kind of mostly on themselves. Yuna just manipulated small situations, and they don't even know that Yuna was doing all this. Yuna was arranging all this stuff. But is that like perhaps what they're is that perhaps what's gonna happen? Are all these couples gonna like almost come back and help her out? That'd be interesting. Said Kitty is still holding on to Sona. Yeah, Sona would actually really understand this one. Like, aside from being, you know, a teacher and adult and already being in a relationship, Sona was actually having very similar struggles prior to her and Kitty becoming a thing. But yeah, this isn't just something Yuna can like probably talk about. Not so like without a little bit of hesitation. I think it's very interesting thinking about these old things that happened, because we've come a really long way since then. Not just Sona and Kitty's couple, but like a lot has passed and a lot has changed since even times like that. That is a very interesting way of thinking about, that is a very interesting way of thinking about, her relationship with Hina, like, the fact that it possibly could be a misunderstanding. Like, yeah, like, when you're friends, like, when you're as friends as long as these two seem to have been, like, they've known each other, like, kind of, like, for a very long time. Like, you could say they've known each other since they were born, like Yuna said, but that's kind of part of... They've known each other for an extremely long time, so it could be, like... misinterpreting those feelings is a possibility. And I don't want to think it's a misunderstanding, and I don't think it is, but there's a way to think about it. Oh, hi, Megumi. Well, you know, you could say those snarky comebacks, like the snarky little comebacks, can like gives her a good distraction from her worries. Wait, is this a typo? Like, is this supposed to be Yuna or is this supposed to be SaChi and I'm just reading the sentence wrong? Oh, whatever. They're pretty good friends. So they are making an attempt to just try and cheer her up. Okay. Operation you can do it, Yuna-san. You've never had melon before? Oh. Well, yeah, so it still kind of begs the question. Have you never had melon before that you don't know that's, like, Whatever. Well, I mean, yeah. Melon bread does not have melon, like the fact that she's asking, like, so this is what melon tastes like. It probably begs the question, has she never had melon before? Whatever. So this isn't what, yeah, she's never had melon before. SaChi looks devastated. Oh, so that's why it is. Naming something something because it looks like another something. You know what? We could just like quote that. Hopefully you guys know what I'm trying to make. You know what? If I remember, I'm gonna put it as a comment in this video and just pin it like naming something something because it looks like another something. Hell, that might even be the title of this video, you know. No, I wouldn't do that. Ah. Son of a bitch, that sounds painful. No, SaChi's not alright at all. Megumi, don't do anything rash. I mean, I know too late is the thing I should be saying next, but please don't do anything rash. Now time to do the good old-fashioned thing and loop around to the beginning. Oh my god, it's been a very interesting time. Like, yeah, like I started recording this game on my birthday. That's something to think about. Oh yeah, that's something to think about. Like, it's the first thing I do when I turn 17, play this game. Alright, anyway. Bonds 4. I think we have time for another one. I might want to change the music, though, but I'll think about that later. Bonds 4. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a good track, but I feel it doesn't fit the mood. Oh, hey, it's Hina. It's, whoa. I think, last time we saw you... Actually, no, I don't think we saw them... I don't think we saw Hina during the, Kitty and Sono event when the, broadcasting team showed up. I think that was just, Umi and Sasa. Okay, yeah, I have no idea when... the last time was probably... Umi and Sasa's cherry event all the way back in, fuck, like, the summer camp? Like, it's been quite a while if that's the case. Yeah, it's very interesting seeing Yuna like this because it's like this is a very she's very much falling apart because of all this. Very interesting seeing those three in their I think this is like the winter uniform or something like that, the long sleeve uniform, because like this, like for some characters this is actually the first time we're seeing it, and for other characters like these guys, like we've seen this stuff since the beginning. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'd say it must be really apparent if Nana's noticing it, but Nana's actually, but as we've seen time and time again, whenever we've seen Nana's perspective, she's extremely perceptive, so, or at least more perceptive than we give her credit for, so, yeah. Yeah, exactly. She's a lot more perceptive than one would think. No, I kind of feel bad for Nana a little bit because like she's like a lot more interesting of a character than I once thought, and I do like her I do like really like her as a character. But the thing is, like, considering she's not in love with anybody and is not in a Yuri pairing, she's kind of been neglected. Anno's the same, but like shit. Sometimes I forget Anno exists, but it's like yeah. I kind of feel bad for these characters. Like, you know, you think they'd do a little romantic subplot maybe with those two. I can totally imagine these two being a couple. if only because A, they're close friends, and B, a process of elimination. But yeah, they still might do something with it in this game. We still have 2 months left. We don't necessarily need to there's still like 2 months or so left of this game, or like a month and a half maybe, so no need to be too hasty on it, but yeah. It's kind of when you're not like when you're kind of like a single character, when you're kind of like a character who in this if you're like a character in this like Yuri game and you're not in love with somebody, you're kind of almost pushed aside because it's not like these two are main characters. It's not like her, Nana, or Anno are really main characters either. They're kind of side characters that have their kind of side characters that kind of like they're kind of side characters that kind of are kind of good supporting roles. And Hina was once kind of the same way too, but now that she's kind of confessed her feelings for Yuna, I kind of consider Hina and Yuna kind of like the same way I've considered all the other girls, a couple we just watch grow and help out if need be. Except Yuna this time really needs to, perhaps with help from others, but help herself out. Yeah, sometimes the people who have the hardest time giving you advice are the people closest to you. That's actually that's actually kind of goes into a little bit of why therapists exist. Like you could strangely enough confide in a lot for someone you've literally met very few times. And it's probably if only because they don't know you or your story and they're told to keep the entire thing secret. So again, yeah, like, and therapists are extremely kind of effective in that regard. If someone you can go talk to, like, I've seen a therapist a few times for miscellaneous reasons, but yeah. So yeah, it's like when you know someone, sometimes that's the hardest person to confide in. Like, the more you kind of put trust into somebody, the harder it could be to kind of confide in them at times. Sounds a bit contradictory, and to an extent it is, but yeah, it's true. Maybe I did something out of character again. Not really, like, it might sound a bit unusual, but at the same time, we do know Nana is like when you kind of like go inside Nana's head and see that she's a lot more thoughtful and like perceptive than you'd once think. This isn't out of character for her. It's probably different than what you'd expect if she was still like how you met her the first time. If any of that makes sense. Might have caught an Umi's busybody bug. She was embarrassed about being like seen as out of character. Yeah. Kind of the thing I think to kind of get from this is like, yeah, this is definitely a personal issue, but I don't think that this is a personal issue that Yuna can kind of tackle on her own. Like, she doesn't probably need to spill her entire heart to the next person she sees, but this is something that, well, this is something that she can probably benefit best by talking to about with someone. That's kind of like an underlying theme for this game. Things are sometimes best dealt with just by talking about it. Like, 90% of all of our problems have kind of fixed themselves that way. Maybe not 90%, but a huge chunk of the problems have been fixed just by talking about it. Well, they have red text. Like, I mean, yeah, that's not necessarily surprising, but like, yeah, you're just thinking about it. They have red text. But I think this is the first time they're using it, because I think this is the first time they're relaying a bloody message to something that's not a CG. It's not obvious that this is the first time she's saying never mind SaChi-san. Everything about her character usually kind of revolves a bit around SaChi-san, even whenever these two just talk one-on-one, which also is an extremely rare occurrence. Yeah, and also SaChi can't get here unless through possession, so yeah. Yeah, something she doesn't want SaChi-san to hear. This has come up between the two of them before. The whole something she doesn't want SaChi to hear, but even then, it still kind of revolved around SaChi. Well, you know, it revolved around her, but yeah. It's kind of referring to when she told Yuna a little bit about how she died and stuff like that. But, fuck, that was also, like, in-game months ago, but also, like, a super long time ago. Oh, wait, I think she's, like, because it's, like, SaChi wants to, like, SaChi, and Megumi want to ask Yuna something, but SaChi's also, like, don't ask her now. Like, she's probably, maybe, like, not necessarily double-crossing, but going behind SaChi's back and gonna try to ask Yuna anyway, which I kind of hope isn't the case, because this is a... Because if it's about the thing they kind of want to ask, that's an extremely awkward thing to ask Yuna, especially now. Well, what's obvious to some people is not readily obvious to others. But yeah, I kind of feel for Yuna here. This isn't an extremely black and white situation. Like, this is not something extremely obvious, at least for her. Like me as the player thinks that, yeah, like, even for a while I still feel that Yuna's been crushing on Hina. But I can understand why Yuna thinks, like, Yuna's not sure. This is not something you rush into. Yeah, this is something I've also never kind of really liked about Megumi. It's she's kind of like, it's been very clear that she's not always thinking with the person. She's not always thinking with the person's heart and mind when she's talking about something or a situation. Like when Amishime and Itamoto are fighting about who would date Hina. her solution was like, oh, let's pair one of them up with Hina. It's like, not thinking about anything else in that situation except the end objective. It's like, you kind of got to be thinking about the people as well in this sort of thing, which is just something that SaChi does better. SaChi kind of understands that, like, this is not an easy to, like, it's not as simple as it looks, and to get the best best results, you can't always be thinking about just the end objective. Yeah, similar situation here. It's just like, yeah, it's like you want Yuna to answer yes, and then ask that whole thing with the possession, which, yeah, I'm not gonna touch that anymore. But what you're not thinking about is, what if Yuna says no? Or what if she does says yes to Hina, but when you ask her about your crazy request, what if she says no? Which would probably be the very obvious thing she would say. It's just like, just because you want to rush this process doesn't mean you're gonna get to your wanted result quicker. And in some cases you might get a worse result if you might get a worse result if you try to rush things. Like, the best result with Amishima, Inamoto, and the whole Hina thing, the whole thing with Amishima, Inamoto, and Hina, it's just like, we kind of let them solve it themselves, and we got the best results. Amishima and Inamoto kind of got back together, and Hina confessed feelings for Yuna, which is better than Megumi would have hoped for or expected. And of course, you have to be blunt like that. I love how she's not even saying, like, becoming one or something like that. No, she's just being blunt and just saying it how it is. Yeah, it's like kind of like this is very interesting out of context, because it's like, yeah, what is A does not just equal B. Like, I know what I know what Megumi's thinking, because they've brought this up before, and even if we didn't see what was going on in Megumi and SaChi's kind of heads about this situation, it wouldn't be too hard to figure out. But it's like, for Yuna, this is kind of surprising for her. I don't think you want to understand what Megumi's saying. Not that I care. I can see how that would be a problem. I don't need this recollection of days of editing's past. Why did I ask? Oh wait, they did it? They both did it too? Like, I expected we'd perhaps have cherry events of those characters in the future that I'd have to censor. Let's just put it like that. But yeah, what on earth are all of you doing at school? Well, you know, if Kiss for the Petals has taught me one thing, apparently you can do it out of school in the most public place possible and not get fucking caught. Finally, someone's thinking logically about this. Like, why the fuck here of all places? I'm calm now, I'm calm. Maybe. Do you understand what you're saying, Megumi? Like, that's what I've kind of been trying to say this whole time. It's like, you realize what you're asking of her. Ignore the fact that she's kind of in a mental and emotional state that's kind of not optimal. Even if she was thinking, even if she wasn't in this situation, she'd probably say no. That's your, like, end goal? You know how we never thought of a plan B in case, you know, this didn't work? Like, this is kind of the ridiculous, like, the whole becoming one thing is something, again, like, I think I mentioned this before, is something we're doing on hopes of maybe it works. So, this has been the most ridiculous thing about this game. I get, like, doing the whole Yuri pairings and stuff like that, because that's been the other goal they've been trying for. To help these people without courage fall in love. And that by itself is a noble goal, but it's like, have you guys kind of thought about the fact that, like, this is, like, have anyone thought about the fact that, hey, maybe this won't actually work? And Yuna's saying the most logical response here. Yeah, I don't think Yuna's really scared of you much anymore. Oh, that's kind of creepy. And, you know, even if they've become a relationship, even if, like, Yuna said, like returns Hina's feelings, they're not immediately gonna, like, you know, frickin' go from, like, 0 to fricking 112. Like, there are so many flaws in Megumi's plan, it's insane. Yeah, this sentence just kind of describes the ridiculousness of the situation perfectly. Please don't cry. I might actually feel bad about saying all that shit. I won't regret it, but I might just feel a little bad. Oh wow, I think this is also a new expression. This just kind of like she's actually, like, in the other one she's tearing up, and this one she's just full on crying. Oh wow, she's, like, sincerely crying. Oh man, that's what Megumi just said. I feel bad now. I thought that from time to time. Well, not the awful part, but certainly self-centered, yes. I think this might be a pretty decent title. My self-centered awful request. Oh, it was June, wasn't it? Oh, fuck, it has been a long time if that's the case. Emphasis on trying, yeah. But since I'm thinking about it, I almost started picturing it. Do not need that imagery in my life. I could live perfectly fine without that. You know, I'm gonna skip that save. Don't ask me why, but I think I'm going to. Alright, I'll put this theme. It's a mix of like kind of like, you know, happy and more down to earth, or like not down to earth, but more it's kind of more of a relaxing than an upbeat song. I think that's what we need at this moment. So yeah, that's if you can tell, that's probably about it for this episode. I have no idea how long this episode ended up being, but yeah. I have to say, I'm in a really weird toss-up with this arc in the game. I can't tell if this is like one of my favorite or one of my least favorite main story arcs in this game. Because by far, this is the most different arc. This has nothing to do with the girl. This has nothing to do with any of the couples we've been helping up to this point. This is a lot of personal issues that really, this is essentially like Yuna. This is Yuna's, like, Yuna's had character arcs in the past. Like, look at no, not that one. Like, all the way since like July and stuff like that, we've Yuna's slowly been just kind of like ever since we got stuff like this where Yuna first just kind of like said stuff about her past that she was uncomfortable with, and she's slowly but surely like coming into her own character, and an arc is building. Like from like herself to her relationship with Hina to like her relationship with the kindred spirits. It's like Yuna's definitely been developing as a character. And again, Yuna is one of my favorite Yuna is definitely probably, and this is kind of a low standard, but probably one of my favorite protagonists in a visual novel. But it's like, so I really like all this character building it's doing with Hina, but at the same time, with how different it is, it's like, I'm kind of not looking forward to the cherry events, because it's like, that's not like, because everything we did in main story at this point was kind of building up to cherry events, I feel. Now, kind of at this point, they're not I'm not really getting any sense of build up from the cherry events. We get like little bits of foreshadowing that things are gonna happen. We're probably gonna get one with we're probably gonna get one with Amishima and Itamoto and Koba and Adiyu because of what Megumi told us. But besides that, we also have maybe like Kitty and Sona might have one. Hey, there might be just a good chance that, who knows, maybe everyone has one. Like one last cherry event between like this month and next. It's like, I have no idea what's going on. We're about halfway through the month right now, so I have no idea what's gonna be going on here anymore, and how the story's gonna pace itself. And so yeah, it's just like, this is kind of one of my least favorites, because it's like, I have no idea, like, because this is kind of a, first off, this kind of seems like a bit of a slow arc. And secondly, it's just like, there's a lot of big things happening, but also objectively a lot of nothing. Like, we're seeing like Yuna's insight, but she's not really getting closer to an answer. In fact, she was probably just pushed further away from an answer from Megumi. We see that SaChi and Megumi are frustrated, but they can't do anything until Yuna does something. And even if Yuna does something, there's no guarantee that they can move forward. Again, we're stuck. And that's what kind of makes this arc a little weird. So yeah, that's it for now. Next time on Kindred Spirits on the Roof, we're going to keep going on with the main story. And, well, I'd say the adventures of Yuri Cupid, but we're kind of not Yuri Cupid right now. We're just, like, Yuna's just kind of figuring her own things out right now. I guess like Lost Soul and Love or something like that. Oh, man, that's a kind of... Anyway, we'll see you guys next time.